Lou Thesz faithfully defended his world heavyweight championship.
Rogers strut.
Kowalski's got him right where he wants him.
Dory Funk Jr. wanting that world heavyweight championship.
10 pounds of pure gold.
Simon Felder's Dusty Rhodes has just become the world heavyweight wrestling champion.
Presenting the greatest organization in wrestling history.
We always deliver on our promises at the National Wrestling Alliance.
Yeah, was pretty hard, and look at what are you going to work now? Oh!
Hey everybody, it's Durger time. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Jeff Jarrett's NWA. I still don't know if I'm going to say it Jeff Jarrett's NWA or Billy Corgan's NWA, but it is still the NWA. We're back here for another episode. Last episode was a pretty good one. We had pretty good stuff going on. Fairly decent show, though the main event kind of suffered from maybe a shortened pace, a lack of psychology, some other problems. Overall, still a pretty good show. We had a 55 for that one, 49 for the previous one. And the good news is we were able to extend it to an hour and a half. Now, we do want to, I think, change this time slot and move this around. So let's take a look here. We got a lot. I think we're going back to Friday. Clearly this was the reason why we had it on Friday before, so we're going to change it again. But before I do that, we need to fast forward a week so we don't have 2 episodes back to back. Man, the chaos this would create in the real world as we just changed our time slot 3 weeks in a row with no notice would be insane. Now, we do have a lot of people on the roster we haven't debuted yet, some new faces that we're excited about, that you've probably seen listed on here. We got Daga, we got Big Damo, we got Mark Sterling and Peter Avalon, we got Marty Martinez, Axel Tischer. I always thought Axel Thrasher. We're gonna change his name. Eric Young, EC3, Curtis Axel, Jonathan Gresham, Fulton. There's some big names. What are you irritated about? Being left off of Power last week? Oh, stop it, Pillman. Some big names that we've added. We have a pretty big roster, but remember, we don't have to worry too much about paying downsides. So we only have to deal with things like this, like Pillman with his morale issues, right? So if we work around that, we can actually add a little bit more, and I kind of want to add a little bit of spice. A lot of these guys aren't going to debut probably until another couple weeks, maybe at Down but Not Out. I have a suspicion that I don't know when I'm going to debut EC3 and Peter Avalon or Mark Sterling. They are kind of all lumped together in an interesting element, but I need to do it soon so they're not super angry. Curtis Axel can debut at any point. We're going to kind of bring him in as a mid-carder with a bit of a different character. And then the suspicious reuniting of Sanity will probably happen at Down but Not Out. But one of the things we want to look at is our tag teams. So we got spoiler, I guess, Peter Avalon and Mark Sterling as a group called A Pair of Legals, which I took from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Had a really good name of a group. They were called The Pair of Legals. And Peter Avalon and Mark Sterling will be that for us. FTR, of course, Gran Cosa de la Lucha. We have the reuniting of Sanity, Enzo and Cass, Outlaw Inc., Sleaze and Breeze, The Acclaim, The Revenant, Von Erichs, and Warhausen. But Danhausen is out injured. I feel like we need 1 or 2 more wrestlers. And so we were talking about maybe adding the Tate brothers as like jobbers. I don't hate it, but I kind of want to look at what is out there worldwide that we can get right now, right? Because there's definitely, tag teams that we should be able to pull. Like, we could probably pull Matt Lee and Jeff Parker. Presumably, they're not under they're just on a written contract. So would be probably a decent fit for us that could be helpful. Some people are not going to be gettable. Like I think the Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy are on exclusive contracts, which is unfortunate. We could also look at some of our Ring of Honor options that we have. So let's look at who's not working anywhere. So let's go to unemployed and see if we have anything that could really be interesting. Is there not an unemployed? There's an unemployed. No, we have any company. Maybe it's under none. No company. I hate that they all have different ones. We will ignore NWA teams. We could probably first look with we employ at least one member and see if there's anything that's really interesting. Rich Swann would not be a bad option. Probably too many people. And a lot of ones that we don't necessarily want to I'm not interested in reuniting them, or reuniting Homicide with a bunch of other people. Not really interested in any of that. The Crew might be the most possible, but is he even available? He is available. Interesting. Could be interesting. Maybe. Let's look at we employ neither. Hopefully it's not too crazy. Okay, it's a lot of people. That's a lot more I wanted to look at, I'll tell you that. Bringing Bear Country probably is available. I kind of want to find another mid-card team that is gonna be either like a gatekeeper for the lower, or we also probably need another face team. We don't really have a lot of those. There's way too many to look through. We're not gonna go through all that. That is a lot to look through. The other option is we could bring in some people that previously were tag teams for the NWA, right? And bring them in as sort of filler to have wins and losses on. Because one of the problems we have with our tag division is that there's not enough tag teams to give a streak. Really, there's a lot of that we would want to have proper chains of wins, and if we just don't have it broad enough, you kind of need a lot more tags than you think you might need. So what we'll do is I think we will bring in the Tate brothers for now. We're gonna say that and we're gonna try to use more of these as a sort of a metric here. We're gonna use a backbone of the roster. Backbone of the roster is gonna give us the option to use heavily, but we'll be happy to. It will expect to be used heavily. I don't know if I want them to be used heavily. Actually, I think most of these they expect to be used more. So I don't know if we're actually going to do that. We'll just say used normally. Ongoing contracts, fine. The Tates will be a decent jobber group for us. The Briscoes, I think, are free. They're still at Ring of Honor, but could be a really strong NWA team for us. They could play face or heel pretty good, and rather affordable. I think that's a good get for us, even though he's now strong-arming me for an extra $10. Sure. Bring Mark in. Wonder if Mark is going to be upset that his brother's making $10 more a show. Who else could we bring in? That's a hard question. There's a lot of tags out there, and I don't want to go through all of the potential tag options. But definitely there are select just active only. and working with no company, employ neither, and must be hireable. That still gives us way too many to look through. Oh boy. Blissy and NWA would be probably not what we would want. Reno Scum actually might not be bad either. I don't know. Dawson Brothers, I was thinking we could bring back in. Might not be a bad option just to have around. I don't know how they would do, but they would definitely be good jobbers for us for a little bit at the very least. But I would like to have like another good face tag team as well, and I don't really know who I would want. That is definitely a problem for us, that we just don't really know who we would want to bring in. It would be a decent face tag team. Yeah, I don't know. I'll leave that to you in the comments. We do have a lot of people now that will be helpful to us. I think we need... I didn't see it in here. I saw it. No. Should have had... That should have been on there. I'm not sure why it wasn't listed. Oh, there it says inactive. Okay, that's why. That would explain it. Change them. Permanent unit. We definitely need another team or two, though, to fill out the roster. We might bring more in. We might make our own. But for now, I would like to have a couple more faces and heel tag teams that could fill it up a little bit and do us nicely for that. All right, let's go ahead. Let's fast forward a little bit, and we'll switch over to putting Power back on Fridays so that we're not going to run into any issues, and we'll run our next episode of Power. All right, so before we get into another show, I just wanted to go through some weird stuff happening in the world right now as like wrestling World War III has started to occur here. It started with AEW and WWE declaring war, not shocking. But then CMLL declared war on AAA, and they retaliated. And now CMLL has declared war on Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor retaliated. New Japan declared war on CMLL. CMLL retaliated. Now have ended their trading agreement. Now New Japan of America's hostile. CMLL has just gone at the attack on everyone. Like, it's crazy. They've just germinated their way through the wrestling industry and decided to just blitzkrieg through everybody and decided they're going to fight everyone. We've not had an issue yet, but thankfully we're not part of an alliance with them, because we would have got dragged into that middle of that whole thing. But wow, sure was something. I just wanted to share that with you before we got on to our next show. All right, we are back. Last episode, we had 709 audience members in the NWA soundstage, which was pretty good. We were expecting a little bit less, so I'm actually pretty happy with that. This next episode, we're expecting 670, which was a little bit higher than we did expected previously, so we should see a little bit higher. Again, always nice to have more people, more butts in the seat. Our maximum capacity is 850, so we would definitely like to hit near that when possible. No backstage incidents, which is bizarre at all. That's very weird. But you know, it's cool, I guess. That's where we're at. Always pull a rib on someone. No open forums are needed. No hardline stances are needed. I think we will just do a a medal. We did have a problem of Ezekiel Crowley and Thea Trinidad divorcing, apparently. So that was a problem. I think we will... Eddie Kingston? Unlikely to achieve anything. There's a reasonable chance of succeeding. Well, let's try that. No effect. Any positive relationships are useful, if possible, unless we want to isolate someone from the locker room. It can always blow up in our face, though, so we have to be careful, but right now I'm not too concerned about it. All right, last episode was pretty good. We had Ace Austin losing the next-gen title, Chris Hero saying he was inflicting pain, John Hennigan debuting as NWA Power, or Johnny Power, I should say. I think I called him John Harris, which I think was a president and maybe a Beatle. Or was that George Harrison? I don't know. So, but John Hennigan showing up, Johnny Power getting a big win, Ricky Starks officially joining JFR, and obviously Mickey continuing her feud with Ruby or Ramona on our show. And Ron Killings having a very different attitude, and a debut of Athena, which went very well. So certainly a show that we have a lot of moving parts for, that we want to continue to move. And we now have 90 minutes to do it, because they did accept it this time, which was very nice. I guess we just had to give them a little bit of motivation, and I'm very happy with a 90-minute show. I think we could do a lot. 1 hour is just not enough. 1.5. Probably perfect. I think we could probably do quite a bit. In terms of product, by the way, we are in the classic balanced. We may change this over time, but this is definitely the one that's sort of the easiest to book. They're going to be upset with dangerous, controversial, bloody matches. Less than 15 minutes will not be able to achieve world-class scores, so having that extra time is going to help our match rate, which was really the thing that was hurting, because like that main event last week with Ace Austin and Johnny Power probably should have had a 70 or maybe a 69, but that lack of that 15 minutes hurt us. So that is sort of the thing here. We certainly have a lot of different options to choose from. We've played around with the idea of changing them before, and it's not always been great for us. We could always jump to the classic styles and move that way. I think we had a golden age at one point. Take 3 months to complete. But I think we had decided that was a little too difficult to book. A lot of things were getting penalized. So there's certainly options to try to change and manipulate. But right now, I think we're fine with just staying as sort of a mixed bag, traditional show as the developers of the mod had booked it. And we'll be okay there. We just need to make sure that we keep 15 or longer minute matches going. So really, when we need to get those high score numbers for throwaways, it doesn't really matter that much, but it is nice to maintain that. All right, let's book the show. We got 90 minutes to book, a couple pre-show matches we'll try to go through, and I'll catch you guys on the flip. All right, guys, we are back. We are ready for 94 minutes. We went 4 minutes over our allotted time, which we're allowed to do. 72% matches, which is pretty good. I think it's a pretty good show. I'm definitely much more comfortable having that 90-minute gap in there. Overall, some goods. I'm really happy with the way this show came out. I don't know how it'll stack, though. So let's go ahead and let's take a look. We got 3 pre-show matches. So let's start with those. We start with a 1 minute, 23 second match for Thunder Rosa as we try to build her back up as a dominant character. I wanted to see how she's ranked in the newer save. We've had issues with some of the women's wrestlers in the earlier beta version, and we've moved over, and I have to say, much happier with that in-ring performance of 54. We give her a dominant squash match. It's not meant to be anything other than that, just to kind of build her up. So very happy with that outcome there. Warhorse versus King Mo. Another quick match. I actually gave Warhorse the win. I wanted to see where Warhorse stacked in the updated save, and actually pretty impressed with a 43. King Mo only had a 35. We do give him a quick roll-up to preserve a little bit of King Mo's strength, but very interesting there. We actually had great chemistry, so it might be something we can do later on and build up maybe like a B-story feud between them. And we have FTR versus the Tate twins, which actually is a pretty good match. The Tates are now officially signed on, obviously, so we gave them a match in here. Gave FTR something to do because they haven't been on the show in a while. So, the audience that are there, even though they're not watching, even though it's not filmed, they're getting a pretty good match with FTR, getting a pretty good win, building up that sort of reputation for them as they build back up in the division. Now we start the show off with a tag match. It does a lot worse than what we had there. Actually, not that much worse, but Acclaimed versus the Dawson Brothers. Dawson Brothers are signed. They're sort of our jobbers for now. And the Acclaimed had a win, a pretty good win early on. They show up again. I should have actually set up another rap for them because that did so well last time. I have to remember to do that. It's a cheap pop, a cheap trick, but it works and it makes sense. The Acclaimed, though, defeat Dawson Brothers in 7 minutes. Anthony Bowens again getting the win. We're trying to build him up for a potential singles run at some point. So we want to make sure that he's really the one that's driving the in-ring performance. Certainly, they're not, like, Max Caster's no slouch at 49, right? That's not really, like, he's not, like, that much worse than him or anything. But definitely Bowens might have the higher top end. We want to kind of preserve that. Match itself gets a 44, not too bad. Dawson's badass gimmick is very mixed. Dave got a poor, Zayn got a very good, which is kind of interesting. We gain heat for the Acclaimed in their storyline, and we build up that storyline there in a ooh, that's not good. Enzo got a very poor rating for his loudmouth rapper gimmick. Big Cass, whose gimmick, of course, got great, should have been legendary, because he is, of course, unteachably tall. That is his gimmick. We have Enzo and Big Cass come out to confront the Acclaimed. No words are spoken, more of just a stare down. Clearly, the realest guys in the room, a little upset at Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, feel like maybe they're coming in, kind of taking a little bit of their style. Enzo's a hothead and probably was very quick to action here. So we're starting to build a bit of a feud between the two of them. The segment gets a 54. It could have been a lot better, but overall, I'm not too dissatisfied with that. Again, as I always say, if we're in the green, we're good for this save. So if we're 50 or higher, I'm fairly happy with what we got going on. So this one, 43, still green, but not as happy. This could have been a lot better. In fact, we actually lose heat for the storyline here. I thought this would have been a lot better of a segment. Ace Austin's backstage with the Smoking Aces. He's pissed off that he lost the Next Gen title. Looking at the camera, twirling that magic staff around for accent, but he is pissed. He's furious at Ron Killings and his words, and it says, so this tough guy, he thinks he knows me. This old man that should have retired. Listen, you have no idea what my life's journey looked like, what I had to do to get here. And yeah, maybe it wasn't the same as yours, and I'll admit maybe yours was tougher. That doesn't give you the right to interfere with my business. You didn't earn this. You don't own this. You have to fight for this. Yeah, you caught me with my pants down and cost me one of my belts. I'll admit that. Smoking Aces weren't around. That's fine. It won't happen again because the Smoking Aces, we're a united front. We have a match. You have a match tonight. I talked to Jeff Jarrett with the Wing Commander, as he says to Matthias Breeze, his number 2. Matty Breeze slaps him on the shoulder. Tonight, well, I tell you this. You're not going to catch Matty with his pants down like you did with me, because the Aces, we're going to be there and make sure that match goes right. Because the thing that's different between you and I is, you might have that prestige, but you're all alone. And us, we're family. So, no more games. By the end of all this, it's going to make you wish you stayed in Clown Town, playing Keep Away with a C-list celebrity guest appearance. So Austin's telling him to shoo fly, saying that Smoking Aces are a united front. Ron Killings has nobody on his side, so better watch out, right? And basically he's saying that, you want to play these games, well, I have the numbers advantage. So if you want to play them, let's see what happens. That's unfortunate. Unfortunate about the hints of a face turn, though. Pillman definitely will be an anti-hero, I think. We have him sitting backstage. This segment doesn't do very well. A lot of it has to do with maybe Tim Storm, unfortunately. But I think it was an important story moment for the series. And we'll see why. Pillman's sitting backstage, and he's looking dismayed. He's watching the matches go on TV. He hasn't had a match last week. The first match, he came back after coming back from the company. Remember, he was supposed to go to the AEW. He's supposed to be this major star elsewhere. He got so high on his own success, and he came crumbling down in abysmal failure. Tim Storm enters behind him into the locker room and makes kind of a quip at him. Goes, still here. I thought you made it to the big leagues. And Pillman kind of at him a little bit. Goes, yeah, well, looks like the train left without me. So you just here to mock me too? Storm shakes his head and kind of puts his hand on his shoulder as he sits down next to him on the bench in the locker room. Goes, no. I've been there. I know what it's like to get the gold fever. I was NWA champion too. And I let it get to me. I'm sure you remember what I was like. Got sold a bill of goods by somebody. Got told I was the most important person. Got told that I needed to do this. I became a person I didn't like. That weight of all that responsibility, the prestige of the belt, the honor to hold it, the pressure to constantly be more, to elevate others, to hold on to it at all costs. Yeah, it's an honor, but it can become a sickness too. You go from not wanting to let your loved ones down, see you lose, to being really desperate to not let anything take that feeling away. You'll take shortcuts. You'll make deals you never thought you would before. You do anything to win, hold on for just one more day. You become a worse person of yourself. And that's it's like that damn ring with the hobbits. That's the curse of the belt. Well, what do I do? Pillman says. Tim sighs and looks at him sincerely, goes, you rebuild. You prove it to yourself. The belt doesn't make the man. The man made the belt. Pillman takes it to heart. It's the first real one-on-one connection he's had since he's come back. And Tim Storm's definitely a person who, obviously, in our very early days of writing it, outside of the storylines in the real world, our Tim Storm, if you recall, all the way back in 2018, 2019, was a villain. Someone that worked with the great-grandson of the company, Paul Pinky George III, to hold the belt at all costs. And became a foil against a hero, Nick Aldis, in our save. And definitely his words speak truth. Very similar parallels of Pillman Jr. and him. It definitely seems like the belt kind of can change the person for the worse if they're not ready for it. And Tim Storm had dealt with that for real. Pillman takes that to heart. He smiles and he starts to wrap up and get ready for a match. He knows what he has to do. We do hint at a face turn. It gets a poor reaction, though. Got the crowd hotter. Unfortunately, this segment's a little bit weaker, but I think it's an important one. Another match that doesn't do great. Delilah Doom versus Mickie James. It's a decent reaction for the crowd, but subpar wrestling. James defeats Delilah Doom in 7 minutes by submission. Afterwards, in another unfortunately poor segment, Mickie James holds on to Delilah and grabs a microphone and calls out Ramona Riot. If you remember, Delilah and Heidi Lovelace at one point kind of had a bit of a friendship alignment a little bit at a time. And goes, so this is another loser friend of yours, huh, Ramona? This is supposed to be a contender here. What is she, some cosplaying dweeb that's supposed to raise the bar for women's wrestling everywhere? Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing here? Just like you? No, she doesn't hold a candle to real competition, as we see. And just like you, useless. Just watch. She reapplies the armbar that she had won with, and Delilah screams in agony. James continues to pull back further and further as the arm wrenches and gets pulled almost out of its socket. It causes Ramona to spring into action, where Riot runs down to the stage to save her friend. And immediately, Mickie James used it as an opportunity to spring up and brawl, and ends up getting the better of the fight, ends up leveling out Riot, and then slinks away after laying her out. She kind of used it in a position to take advantage of her and just kind of prove that she's still a dominant factor. She is our Impact Knockouts champion. Mickie James is former women's champion in WWE, I want to say. Certainly a major competitor there. And she's trying to make her point known that neither of these people hold a candle to her, right? It's a 40. It advances the storyline. Did get the crowd hotter. Unfortunately, it's definitely a weaker rating. Oh, boy. What happened here? What the hell? Don't know why it was a 39, but we have Pillman Jr. versus Brian Cage. Pillman seemed off his game, but why a 39? Low morale. No. Segment was penalized for odd face heel combo. Well, fair. Oh boy, 39 is real bad. Pillman gets a win against Brian Cage, but not a fan of that. I could tell you that much. That is a bad match. Even though it had decent wrestling, it just did not jive with the fans. The combo between the two of them did not work. They don't want to see Pillman as a face. He's off his game. He tried to go all out. He's got bad morale. Very unfortunate. Save us, Johnny Power. Johnny comes out after that match, after, what should have been a triumphant beginning of Pillman's journey up that kind of felt awkward, unfortunately. Johnny comes out to save it, coming out with a microphone after the match for his own match. He says he's got a new belt as he kind of slaps the Next Gen title pridefully, and he's got a new fire in him. He can't wait. Johnny Power's here, and his favorite thing to do with these things, open challenge. Who wants a shot? Next Gen title's always on the line anyway, so come at me. Does pretty well here, and we have a pretty decent match. Samurai del Sol and him, both high flyers, have a pretty high flyy match. Power defeats Samurai del Sol in 15 minutes. Pinfall with the Starship Pain. Makes defense number 1 of the Global Force Next Gen title. Johnny had a 68. Samurai del Sol had a 54. And he got a good lucha thinger gimmick. Got a adequate rating. Johnny, of course, getting better at his gimmick. Good. Overall, 56 is not too bad. Can't hate that too much. And in our main event, we have Ron Killings versus Matthias Breeze with a 52. Definitely going to be a weaker show. We just have to hope it's not so weak that our broadcaster doesn't like it. But Ron Killings defeats Matthias Breeze in this match, despite Ace Austin being out there. But only Ace Austin is out there, which is kind of odd. Had good heat, had good wrestling. Both of them about evenly matched. We advanced the storyline, even though Ron was a little bit off his game. Matty Breeze here got really screwed out of this match after a botch interference from Ace Austin, and leading to Ron being able to set up his pinfall attempt and his finishing move. Afterwards, we see exactly what happened. Ace Austin's frustrated as the other members of Smoking Aces are nowhere to be found. Jarek 120, Zicky Dice, where are they? We don't know. Ace is out there trying to ringside help Matthias Breeze, but the match is turning against him. Ron Killings is definitely getting the upper hand, and he scrambles to assist after a ref bump has the ref laid out, and he uses the NWA World Championship to try to attack Ron Killings in a rush scramble. But the moment was miscalculated. Ron's able to turn it into a reversal and ends up having sort of a miscommunication between Breeze and Austin in the scene, leading to Austin giving Breeze a full face of that belt. Killings ends up ducking away as Ace Austin knocks out the stablemate. The ref rustles awake, and the attack is able to allow Ron Killings to set up an easy finisher for a pinfall. Ace Austin can be heard talking to Matthias, screaming, "Where are they? Where are they?" There was supposed to be a team out here, and here we are with another loss for the Smoking Aces. And we hear a voice from the back going, "Oh, Ace! See, RK here isn't as alone as you think, because real respect's real." Eddie Kingston and Homicide come out backstage, holding a beaten and battered Jarek 120, and Zicky Dice drags him up to the ring, throws him in there near Matthias and Ace Austin, and Ace Austin's able to slip away as Eddie Kingston, Homicide, and Ron Killings attacks the other 3 members of Smoking Aces, leveling them out. Seems like Ace Austin is wrong. Ron Killings isn't as alone as he thinks, as Outlaw Inc. kind of come out to help even the playing field, which certainly may come into play for Ace Austin here, as well as we get closer to the pay-per-view. This is a 52. Jarek and Ziggy performed poorly. All they had to do was sell, and apparently they still fucked that up. But okay, it's a 52 for the end segment. I don't know what we're gonna get here. 49. We increased our popularity in 9 regions, but not all of them. Definitely a weaker show. Some unexpected problems in there that really kind of screwed it up. Overall, we had 743 people. So that was nice, but wish I could have gave them a bit better of a show. Thankfully, it's much lower than our minimum requirement. So while we don't gain as much popularity everywhere, we certainly don't upset our broadcaster, which is really the most important right now. We got some mail, another pay raise request here. We can go ahead and do that. I don't have a problem with that. Kingston says Warhorse is charismatic and Kid is a future star. So we might want to try to build a relationship with him up there. We had 63,000 viewers. Certainly not too bad. The consensus probably was that it was okay. I'm imagining it's not going to be considered great. It was excellent. It still was excellent. So, not our best, but maybe not as dramatically as bad as I thought it was. And meanwhile, Finn Balor became Universal Champion. Good for him. So not too bad. We actually are in the positive now for cash, which is interesting. So we are actually making more money than our worker expenditure is right now, which is fantastic. Can't complain about that. Broadcast revenue is only $6,000, so it's really not from that. It's not nearly as much as we had maybe hoped it was. A lot of it's coming from our sponsorship deals, which are off the charts right now. Our merchandise also looking pretty solid, with Ezekiel Crowley, despite not having been on the show in a bit, still getting us the top slot. Thunder Rosa now on the board. Ricky Starks way behind, and Eddie Kingston still very popular with Ron Killings as well. So certainly some interesting dynamics in the merchandise sales there. They're always interesting to see. That is it for me today. Fairly good show. Happy with some of the events that have occurred. Definitely not perfect. We have a lot of work to do, but very, very excited about what comes for the next Power, and then of course our pay-per-view that we're building up for, Down But Not Out. I'll catch you guys on the flip. Have a great one.